interest in it. I personally probably wouldn't vote for Rassie as my president because he's not like, what does he know about it? You know what I'm saying? But in saying that, I have a tough time thinking about who to vote for anyway.
Hello. As you see, the big vibe is even bigger. This week we have the boy in person, in the flesh. That's right, Tev and Ty have come together for, what's it, like 3-4 years?
Yep.
Being in the same space, and we finally managed to get things working to actually align our lives to be in the same space for an episode. And I've certainly enjoyed the time having Quota and Tyler here. It's been amazing. Every single, as you've been watching this, that's they've been on your job notes. It's been amazing, and they've made a pit stop here in Old Messing Town, live and direct from New York. Ty, welcome, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The vibes are live. Straight out of Ollerton, man. Straight out of Ollerton. I feel like, when you watch Sex Education and you see they're like in Moordale, although Moordale is like some other kind of beauty. But little Ollerton is so nice, such a nice little town. Tev has been so great, kind and gracious enough to host us here. Took us for some carvery lunches. Got to eat a lot of Yorkshire foods. 1-1-1, isn't it? So 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of water, cup flour, cup eggs, half water, half oil, 190 degrees for 19 minutes. There you go. The big vibe keeps giving gifts. And I think it's been a really cool opportunity for us to see each other, both as friends, and podcast partners, and, feeling reunited, like nothing has changed, it's like gone full circle. It would have been so cool if we managed to get this to be episode 50.
Oh,
okay. But we just short 47. And I think a good way to start is just by quickly addressing like sort of the state of the pod, like where we at, where we've been. So I don't know about for you, but for me, I've kind of felt like we started off the podcast to have something to keep us connected, something to keep our creativity flowing. And it feels like it's gone through like ebbs and flows. Like there's been times where we were hitting it like every week, once a week, and we were really going and like we were progressing in terms of like, I guess, the numbers or whatever. And then there were times where both of us just got a bit busy. We had to take a break, like even now while we've been traveling, it's been quite hectic. So I don't know about you, and now we're doing this live while everyone can see it, but it's kind of like, I think where I'm at with it right now is that I feel like it's been such a cool journey. We've had so much fun doing it. But there was a time when I became like really concerned with the numbers, like trying to just get it, push it, and it kind of it never lost its funness for me, but it did kind of feel like it was a bit of pressure. Yeah. So we both have a lot of things coming up, which we'll touch on later on in the episode. But I think what we've kind of agreed on is that we will be, still releasing episodes, maybe not every week, but slowly as we feel like we have the opportunity and we have the time to do it. So, those of you that are still listening, that are still with us, that are here to see the live episode, which is really cool, by the way. Thank you for being here. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything about where we're at.
Just it's all about capacity, as you alluded to. Lots going on in our lives. Things that we'll mention in due time, and it's really just trying to find time for both our families as well as ourselves. We bring into a space where you need to start prioritizing certain sectors of your life, and that's not to say that we're not prioritizing this. We're just making sure that everything else is at a good space, a good place for us to continue to do this.
Yeah,
continue to push our crew, not going to have conversations.
And shout out to Tev. If you can't hear him properly, the man decided to sit down in his sickly state to do this with us. So shout out for that. But I think this week what we wanted to chat about a little bit, some of the viewers would have seen a couple of weeks ago we ran a poll just before the semi-finals when South Africa played against England. Mm-hmm. we were lucky enough to go watch the final together. This is the second final we watched. So we watched.
The good luck Charles.
Hey, just
Beside me.
for context, my bachelor's was 4 years ago, and together we watched South Africa beat England in the final. Was England? Yeah, I think it was England in the final, which was really awesome. 4 years later, here we are in England watching us beat New Zealand in the final of the World Cup. And rather than just talking about like the World Cup itself, which is, super exciting and super cool, we thought we'd talk a little bit about what the World Cup means, because I think especially not just the World Cup, but sports in general. Yeah. So like we've seen like now actually today on recording day on Instagram, it's littered with the arrival of the Springboks back at OR Tambo. Would you have gone? If you were in South Africa, do you think you would have gone to OR Tambo?
I think you would have. Just just to say I was part of it as well. I think being outside of South Africa now and seeing the collective like spirit of South Africa, everyone joining in celebrations across South Africa. So that's made me long to be there and be a part of it. So I think it would have been yourself.
I feel like I'd be a bad person if I said no. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I looked at this and I was like, "There's so many people there, and you're gonna be looking like, see us over there, see." I mean, I think you're right. It probably would have been more about the Gias, and I think if we did with a group of people, I think it would have been cool. Actually, Les is mentioned when he watched the semi-final. He went out and he just felt so disappointed by the vibe, because there was a bit of a vibe during the game, and then he watched it, and then immediately it cut off and ended. And he then sent us a message, and he's like, "I feel so sad. I miss home so much, And I think it's really, really cool to see like kind of what this means, and that's what begs the question for the two of us, right? Like, what does sport mean? What does rugby mean as a whole? But let's first of all start off with the little bit of a not controversial, but Cyril Ramaphosa was at the game.
That was
Front and center, lifting the World Cup like it was his.
Of course, this group project. Just playing with
a guy. He's the guy who doesn't do the work. He's
just sitting on the sidelines, and then we would start
taking the grades. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think in general of his? Like, because he's still a president, right? He has a right to be there.
He does.
So what's your general kind of feeling towards it?
I think as a president, you should be the one that always goes against the grain, even though you're called up and you're like a part of the ceremony, procession for the lifting of the cup. It should be your time to step aside. So even if it's handed to so, you should be the one pointing a coach, captain, like guys, your moment comes that. Because for you guys have done this for the nation. I'm sure it's in Serbia too. Kind of, I just need not mediate, but just be let's call him the trophy bearer.
Okay.
Literally just for that moment. Pass it on. Don't make it about yourself. And that's what that's what he did as well with the promise of public holiday. So they found out today was only approved for the 15th and 16th of December.
Do you know what? Why that date?
Apparently to accommodate the chickens. After they were triggered and finish rise of exams, the country gets public holiday.
So then it will be, isn't the 16th also a public holiday?
So I can just say like the 15th.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty cool.
But Litchfields already go on holiday for ages after that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit delayed, man. It doesn't quite make sense, but I guess you need to give the nation what the wants to.
Well, I know there was also there was a speech that he did where he was talking about like how he kind of like alluded to, and I mean, don't paraphrase me on this, maybe someone can fact check me, but he was alluding to how like, look at how far we've come. He kind of was also, there's that old like kind of token speech that the ANC people do, like, oh, look, thanks to our and I'm not trying to discredit anything that the ANC did during, the time of freedom fighting and what they've done for the country. But, it's always the same speech that seems to happen about like, it's like leaning into like back to 94, like we did this by liberating. And I think it did play a part. But a lot of people kind of have a feeling of like, almost like a token speech kind of thing. Like you trying to claim this when I think a lot of people kind of feel like we did it in spite of what's going on as opposed to thanks to.
Yeah. because I don't get the sentiment I'm getting. It's kind of riding off the back of the success, almost to say, look at the unity of South Africa. Look at what we've been able to do by providing this team, and you kind of lay claim to having a very like listicle part in it in, let's say, the Quota system, or having some kind of transformation happen at a grassroots level. And this is now the outcome of that.
Yeah.
So trying to lay claim, that will be least the drivers. As you said, he had no part to play.
Yeah.
He's doing this thing right in the country that's completely aside from the fact that you can't then take the accolades of the national team and I guess direct it politically.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing. But I think you mentioned a really interesting fact about why or how sport came about, too, like in the Roman times.
Yeah. So I know like this was something we learned on our travels. Like formal sporting events kind of, I could be wrong again, please fact check me, but it kind of came about in the with the Colosseum and like the games that they used to host there, and how it was actually more of a distraction from, you know, like the emperors and stuff used it to distract the people from what was really going on. So it was a lot more, I don't want to say cynical, but it was a lot more like, look over here while all these other things are happening. Like, we're providing this for the people while all these other things are happening. And I actually think you can draw a parallel onto like how, you know, I think voting is coming up soon. When's the next election? Like next year, isn't it? That's the national election. So I think like this is going to be something that's going to be kind of used, because it is, you know, at the end of the day, politics is actually marketing. It is actually, I guess, propaganda to an extent. So I think they are going to be using it. But I mean, it's just like this whole thing has just made me think kind of about, you know, like what sport means, you know. And we were fortunate enough that we went to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. The Owls, they are sitting stone last in the championship. They played against Rotherham. Thankfully, we brought the good luck charm, and they won that game. It was their first dub of the season. They won 2-0. A really entertaining thing to go to see like a, I want to say quote unquote smaller team, but it's still a championship English football side. So I think they're still pretty big. And I saw something today, interestingly enough. So you were telling us that Sheffield Wednesday is in financial problems. Their owner has come out and he has said that they need to raise £2 million. So they are in £2 million worth of debt, right? And the owner has come out and he has said like that the fans need to raise this money to help the team pay out their debts. And apparently Sheffield fans have said before to the owner, like, we are the owners, you're just a custodian. So he said, okay, well, if you're the owners, put it up, right? So he said, is it 200, maybe 2,000? I don't know the maths. I think it was 2,000 people. If 2,000 people give £100 each, I think that equals 2 million. I'm not mistaken. My maths might be off. Could be 20,000 paying £100 each. Whatever the maths is, he said something like that, right? And I wanted to ask you, do you think, where does it change, right? So like, is it, I don't want to say is it the fans' responsibility, but like, how do you kind of discern like when it becomes whose money and whose responsibility to upkeep a sporting?
That's the interesting part for me. Like, I see it with the Glazers and United fans. What's really interesting to me is seeing how much, I guess, support and claim fans have for a club. It's my team. This is my team that you almost are able to have a say in, almost at a hierarchy level. You're the one that said, this manager's not good enough for my team. This striker doesn't meet the criteria. We should be spending our money getting these players. What about our infrastructure? Should we do A, B, and C? And this is the curious part when you see the ownership call on the fans to say, hey, well, you guys are wanting all of these changes. I'm running it as a business.
Yeah.
This is, because ultimately that's what it is. It's a business.
Yeah.
I think you become so blind to the fact that it is a business, and first key component to business is being profitable.
Yes.
So I found it extremely interesting to see this opportunity, I would call it. If I was the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, you then have to, I guess, package it as them having possibly opportunity to buy shares into the company. I don't know what that looks like though, because it was 12,000 people. You then form some the Sheffield Wednesday business unit that they buy shares and pay out your shareholders accordingly. I think that would be a really cool model. You know what? Fans literally buying into a club and not just.
But yeah, when you have so many people trying to make a decision, like if you depends on like your stakes, right, and what you own. But you know what would be cool, actually? I remember a couple of years ago, was it the 2015 World Cup, where the New Zealand rugby team had a thing where you like black is not just a color. It was like a whole like moving speech that they spoke about how the kit, you know, like black is not just a color, black is what brings us together, you know, like talking about the kit. And what they did is you could pay, I can't remember, let's just say hypothetically it was 100 New Zealand dollars, and your name was printed onto a line of the fabric of the kit that the players wore, to say like you're part of the team, you're what's holding the team together, sort of thing, right? Yeah, I think Sheffield could do something like that, right? It should just be like not just like a hands open, like, you know, give us money so we can fix this, you know, but rather have something like maybe they build a stand and your name will be etched into the wood if you're one of the people that, you know, something that you're always then a part of the club, you know, something like that. But just seeing like the seriousness of how these people support, you know, Sheffield Wednesday and with these clubs, and how you at least explain to us how, like, you know, in that we think the Premier League is like the be all and end all, but if their people's teams are not in the Premier League, they don't even know what's going on, man. And I think that's just like next level crazy. And that actually brought me around, like, you know, the Springboks and how we have this like kind of loyalty to them. Not kind of, we are very loyal to the Springboks, and, you know, we all see it as a uniting force in South Africa. Sheffield Wednesday is a uniting force. I mean, all these clubs are uniting forces within their areas. But now, do you feel like you have missed out because you, on a club level, you know, and you support Man City? I mean, you used to support Man United. You support Arsenal for a season. And now you support Man City. So your loyalty was... why did you end up supporting Man City anyway?
Yeah, so I'll take it back. People always ask me, was it because of the Sheikh's money? No. My first...
Was it at the same time, though?
Before.
Are you sure?
First and foremost, I'm a Kaiser Chiefs fan. Kaiser Chiefs has taken me through the ringer. Kaiser Chiefs have been dead for like a good 10 years. At least. But quite similar to, I think, how football fans here get affiliated with their clubs. You either have something that's close to you regionally, and I think it's passed up.
Okay.
So in my family, just for context, I'm a Chiefs supporter. My brother is a Chiefs supporter. My dad is a Pirates fan. Again, I don't know why he gave me to support different teams, but it was like that. I ended up supporting Chiefs because of my grandmother's dad.
Okay.
I don't even know why, but anyway, it stuck. I'm a Chiefs fan. Chiefs, I'll support Chiefs until the day. Chiefs played Man City in the Vodacom Challenge in 2009. To give you context, Zabaleta still have full head of hair. Let's just take that into consideration. So you're watching that. They had a really, I wouldn't say it's definitely not the style of it they have now, but that interesting attacking prowess to it.
Okay.
Following City, obviously in the Sheikh's game in, that souls of this world, Yaya Tours, and they built what was the foundation.
Boat/port, because it costs money.
Of course.
I'm not saying that they both, where City has done really well, I will admit, is they do spend big money every season, don't get me wrong, but it seems like they've built like more of a foundation, like they're fixed, like their scouting is phenomenal, their coaching is great, everything about it is like, they weren't just stupid, they weren't just like, I don't want to say PSG is stupid, but PSG is a similar cash cow kind of situation where they just keep buying players and like to no success, you know, like whereas City seems to have formed more of like a, there's a foundation. Yeah. There's a foundation there. But do you feel like now you've been living here and your local team is Mansfield Town? That would be the closest kind of local team. I guess Nottingham is close enough that it could be considered the local team. But do you feel like do you feel fortunate that you were allowed to choose your team?
That is actually going to be my next question. Like, I do feel fortunate. I feel I'm spoiled as well, very much so. So I'd say, yeah, I do feel very fortunate to choose my team. Flip side of that is that I don't feel as connected to City as I would for Chiefs. And obviously on national level, every national team comes first and beyond anything else. If Boks are playing versus me getting a ticket to go to the Champions League final for City, I'm gonna watch the Boks. It's something that lights us as a nation, and I don't think that's something that I can really try and replicate on the club level. How about you? Firstly, how did you come about supporting Arsenal? Again, a thing of choice, and was there or is there a club with any sport that was bestowed upon you that you didn't have a choice?
Okay. So first of all, I would assure you that there's nothing to worry about in terms of lacking a connection to City. I'd say the vast majority of your fans have a lack of connection. So you're part of the majority, not the minority. So I wouldn't stress about that. But I feel, yes, fortunate. It's the same kind of answer. I feel fortunate in the sense of like, I got to kind of choose according to like what I liked about football. So I supported Arsenal. I started supporting Arsenal after the Invincibles, because when the Invincibles happened, we were quite young, and I wasn't watching regularly enough to actually say that I enjoyed that era, properly. I mean, I did enjoy some of the players, like Henry was like part of the reason why I started supporting them, and actually it was like a family thing. My older cousin, who I really looked up to, supported Arsenal, so as a result, I started supporting them. So not that it was bestowed upon me, but it was like something that I did because of another person, right? It's not like my dad supports Chelsea. He wasn't like, you have to support Chelsea because I do, So I do feel fortunate that I could have made that choice. And here we are, like 20 years later. I haven't seen us win the Premier League. So, fortunate, unfortunate, I don't know. But where we at in terms of like the growth of the squad and everything, I feel fortunate in that I was lucky enough to pick Arsenal, and unlike some people, I stuck with the team that I chose all those years ago. I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone, but I'm just saying. And then in terms of like a local rugby team, I support the Lions because my older brother, he supported the Lions or supports the Lions, and it was also like a local team for us, like Gauteng, Joburg specifically. Like we could go to the games. So that's kind of like where my loyalty kind of came from, and it's the same thing as you with like the international sport. Like it doesn't matter what, when, where, how. I'll always support, like, even though they trash Bafana, like I'll always, except for the man Lau Foster himself, but like I'll always support Bafana first. When Banyana has success, I'm always stoked about it. When now in the Cricket World Cup, where we're actually doing quite well. Let's hope we can continue with that. I'll always support South Africa. The Springboks is a given. I followed the Rugby World Cup very closely. And I just, I kind of feel like it's really cool because I feel like it unites people with people that are around you, with your family, so on and so forth. And I just think it's like such a special thing. But I do think, yeah, fortunate that we got to choose, but unfortunate that we miss out on that kind of like undying sort of loyalty that comes with like supporting a Mansfield, or like like if you're in South Africa and you see someone wearing like I won't say Newcastle, because Newcastle is like kind of like, you can see new age supporters coming because of money, but like let's say you see someone wearing a Villa top or a Crystal Palace top, you look at this person, you're like, how did this happen? Like, you're in South Africa, like, how did this happen? That's probably like a generational, like, my family's from Crystal Palace, maybe it could be something like that, so I do kind of feel like it's a bit sad not to have that kind of like proximity support kind of thing, but it's also nice to support a good team. Like
you gotta go. And what fascinates me is that even though they were stone lost, that stadium was almost fully.
It was full. It was pretty full, eh? Like,
that's insane. Like, I think they've played maybe like 12 games this season and had it 1-1.
Yeah.
And yet every week your bum's in that chair, so walking to regardless of what happened. Through the promotions, through the relegations, this is your team.
Yeah.
And I think we've been so spoiled as South Africans in getting to follow successful teams. We've seen all of our teams have won something in our lifetime. Sorry, Spurs fans watching. But in our lifetime, we've been lucky enough to see our team win things.
Yeah, you saw Man United win when you were a Man United fan, and you now see City win as a City fan.
I saw the light, eh? I saw the light. And it's a privilege, but I think perhaps then we miss out on an aspect of football to really understand what it means beyond the accolades.
Yeah.
So as a team, that essentially is your representative.
Yeah.
Well, can you get there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like now, as we kind of start to like kind of wind down and wrap up, you know, I now have a bit of a predicament. So my plans now moving forward is that we will be moving probably from, we're hoping South Africa to New Zealand is the plan. So we're going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. That rock is green and gold, and the hard place is, I guess, black and silver, black and white, you know. So it's between South Africa and New Zealand, and immigrating is a tough thing. You know, you want to assimilate and you want to feel close to the people that you immigrate to. I will physically it'll be impossible for me to support New Zealand when they're playing South Africa, you know, but I've always liked New Zealand rugby, so I'll probably support them. You know, so that's like a little bit of a challenge that I foresee coming. But you don't seem to have a problem like with that, because I think, jokes aside, like when you go watch Arsenal, I see you all kitted out in your Arsenal kits.
Guys, let me talk to you about marriage. In marriage, there's certain compromises you have to have if you're an Arsenal wife. What she was donning when the mighty citizen stunk on Arsenal, she was in city colors. And as such, as a loving husband, we go to Arsenal, we must play a part. You got to play a part. You got to show support for those who haven't won things in recent times, and you've got to encourage the ones you love. So that's that statement.
But now you have some big news yourself, and I think I have a question that I'd like to ask you after you break your news.
Yeah. So what we had alluded to previously, how we're all looking to prioritize some aspects of our life, and again, trying to decide the next generation of fans. I'm looking forward to becoming a father.
Yes, sir.
And in that, we've kind of tried to make things a level playing field. So what we're going to do is that when our child is of crawling age, we'll got 2 sets of jerseys, and then they can crawl to their desired team of choice, and that's the way that they will decide. However, we have had some people from Lisa's dad, and it's already bought tons of kits, home away, alternate, you name it. She's got a kit for it.
Do you think crawling age is old enough? Because it's going to be a bright color, or it's going to be a favorite color that's going to attract her. Like,
they're both bright colors, which is the interesting. I just need to make sure that there aren't any things
sweet hidden under the Arsenal shirt,
scales behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to make it as fair as possible. But I think children make the right choice.
If she's anything like her dad, she can change it to at a later stage anyway.
It's about evolution. Think about and this is actually a very personal point that I want to bring it back to before we can. So, you know, we always, there's a 2-part. We always talk about football and politics, or sport and politics. Should they hypothetically run into a situation where Rassie and co could run a country? If Rassie were to come out with a political party, how many votes do you think people would get? And do you think that if the hierarchy of a sports team, a national team, were ever to go into politics, like always draw on what works in enlightening people, in getting buy-in, and kind of move that towards political direction? Do you think that's a plausible reality? Do you think that sports and politics shouldn't mix?
Well, if you look, if you look at in America, there's no person who can't run for president. Technically, Kanye was talking about doing it at a stage. Donald Trump, before he became president, was like not really. He was a businessman more than anything else. So, and I'm not looking at those two as like prime examples of like how a country can be run, because I don't know what Kanye would do to a country, and we saw what happened with Donald Trump. Although there were some things about the U.S. political system that worked under him, but it's not impossible to imagine like a person who is outside the realm of politics becoming a politician. Regarding like trying to take what you learn in a sporting environment and applying it to politics, I think to an extent you can, but I think there's a lot more to it, than simply. I think now it's also just a joke, like Rassie for president and that kind of thing. Like, I think it is like a little bit of like a joke. I don't actually think it will have any traction, and I don't, to be honest, think he has any interest in it. I personally probably wouldn't vote for Rassie as my president, because he's not like, what does he know about it? You know what I'm saying? But in saying that, I have a tough time thinking about who to vote for anyway. But in terms of should sports and politics mix, I think yes, to an extent. I think politics, like sports, has such a big influence and such a wide reach that I think it's only right that these people, not use that as a platform, but use it to promote good, for it to make a difference. Sports doesn't exist in isolation, because like politics can fund sports. If you look at like Saudi Arabia, like there's a political element to the growth of the Saudi league. So you can't use politics to uplift sports, but then sports cannot exist in isolation of politics. Like if you're going to use one for the other, then you kind of have to make sure it has to be fair in that sense. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that they need to be together?
I think they're always going to be connected. And like you said, that there needs to be a bit more of a balance between the two. As you said, there's always a supplement of funds politically into a sporting team, and that also sometimes drives a narrative to an extent.
Yeah.
So we'll give a quick warning before, I know we've overrun here, but quota system.
Yeah.
Let's just get you a quick 2 minutes opinion on the quota system. I just saw the makeup of the block team had a considerable amount of black players.
Yep.
And I think politically, this could be something that they do, as we did earlier, try to play in their favor. Look what we've managed to do, guys.
Yep.
Through our intervention, we've won the team has been able to back broadcast. And if it wasn't for us, that was kind of at the forefront to, I guess, shake things up.
Yes. Yeah.
To restructure.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the back-to-back.
Yes. Well, I think like the quota system, I think, is a necessity in South African sport. I think still today, I do still believe that it has a part to play in our sporting environment today, because ultimately South Africa is not the first country to use the quota system. There's multiple countries that have used it in the past, and the primary objective of it is to kind of, it's saying, like, although BEE is sometimes manipulated, it's supposed to be about equalizing the playing field. And when you come from years and years of oppression and unequal opportunities, you have to somehow create equal chances for people. And I think the quota system, to an extent, does that. I still think that people kind of manipulate it. Like schools will kind of like not capture, but like offer these talented like people of color these contracts to join the school, and because it uplifts the school. And I'm not so sure in action how much the quota system is actually uplifting people through the ranks. But if you look at Sia Kolisi, who came from Rugby, I think it is, and like that kind of nation, that kind of background. I'm not saying Sia's successful because of the quota system, but the opportunities presented were necessary, and I think are a fundamental part. And a lot of people turn around and say, yeah, we've been there for 30 years, so 30 years of freedom next year, so maybe we should do away with it. And I think 30 years doesn't equate to hundreds of years. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think the playing field is equal yet. I don't even think it's remotely equal yet. I think the quota system has to exist because the majority is still impoverished and still needs the opportunities to be uplifted. But it's hopefully something that will be worked away, but I think it should be worked away with milestones. So it should be in tandem with like, let's say every school, this is just an example, but once every school in South Africa has a rugby field built on the school premises, or a sporting field, then we can drop the quota system. I don't know what it is now, but let's say it's 60%. Then you can drop it from 60 to 40, right? As an example. So once we reach milestones of equity across the board, or equality, I should say, across the board, then you can start thinking about removing the quota system. But at this moment in time, if you were to remove it, I think that we are aware enough to see talent for what it is and to select based on merit. However, you only select what you can see, and often things are missed. You know, I don't know how you feel about the quota system, or like, does it have its space still?
Definitely hit the neck sound perfect. I think sometimes the misconception about the quota system is that people are being overlooked. So people that are white or are non-black are being overlooked. I think it's, you were think of it as a pecking order. It's not just discredit Tyler, who has talent, as Tyler not being put enough into.
Yeah.
It's more so, if Tyler and I are at the exact same level competitively, there is a bit more preference, or there's a bit more opportunity for me to have that opportunity as opposed to Tyler that's had hundreds of years. So it's not to discredit your ability or talent. It's more so just an order system.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just to break like the cycle, you know. And while in your example, Tyler might feel personally robbed, you know, you might take it personal. It's very difficult not to be fair, like in that situation. But, you know, you kind of have to just look at it in terms of like a bigger picture kind of thing. And I think it's easy for us to sit here on a couch in Ollerton and talk about this, where we haven't had opportunities granted or taken from us. Although innately I've had opportunities perhaps that you haven't. Like, that's just, you know, kind of the unfortunate fact of the matter. But I'm talking about a direct opportunity, you know, like in sports per se. So maybe it's easier to talk, for me to say to somebody whose opportunity was taken away from them, it's easier for me to say, oh, just look at the bigger picture, because, you know, I'm not in the scenario. But yeah, no, I think it's something that hopefully we can, you know, like next year we'll see with the elections. That'll be a big thing. But yeah, I think that might be a tidy place to wrap it up. I do want to say there's a very special episode coming up very soon. We're going to have Aaron back for another episode, Slade. Maybe the next episode, hopefully. And then Tev, Aaron, and I will talk about, are we ready to be fathers? I think I'm not quite at the same stage as they are in terms of the cycle of everything, but it's something I've been thinking about. So look out for that one. As always, thanks everybody for joining us. We love you guys. And Tev, any wrap-up thoughts for the
Thank you, Captain, for being here, for making us a pit stop on the European channels before you get on to your new adventure chapter 5. Thank you for all of those that have been listening, following, watching, giving us questions, answering our polls, etc. And sticking with us. As I said, we have a lot in the pipeline. And in addition to parenting, so we also have a really, really, really cool to understand each other.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but on more a national scale. That's it.
So let's say goodbye into that camera. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks. We'll let you know.
Well, it's